What up? What up? We are back with the Maniaco podcast. I have my friend Rob with me. Rob from LA. You guys might know him as, because I've talked about a little bit here and there about my journey with Rob. And man, I had to work very hard to get Rob on the podcast. I was very determined, because this is probably the first time anybody from my past has actually been on the channel. I've had a lot of.
Let me tell you, I was very skeptical.
Well, we could talk about that. This is our first. Yeah, we'll talk about that. So that's fair, and I can understand why. We have a very quite a past, and I like to give my viewers some insight about where I came from, the life I live, because they only see me now, and they have no clue really, besides what I told them or whatever about, like where I came from and the craziness, that I, before me getting sober and stuff like that. So I have. I'll tell you, Rob, and I'll let you talk. I've made some really, just like when I'm reviewing supplements, I've made some like really just off the wall comments about like me and Rob went through this pre-workout made me feel like I had to do a safety meeting, and like, so I've gotten some comments about like people are like, we want to know about Rob from LA, and like I'll show you the video, Rob, and like, it got like 50 likes, that comment, where people wanted, no more. So I was like, I got to get Rob on the podcast, So I reached out. We've talked here and there over the last 10 and a half years, not too much.
Why is that how long it's been?
I've been
sober. When's the last time I saw you?
I've been sober. January will be 11 years.
It's been 11 years, huh?
It's been 11 years. So why don't we go back to the beginning, man, at how we met?
What's the beginning? That's prison.
The beginning was prison.
Yeah. At a CCF in near Bakersfield in a little town called Shafter. And
yes.
It's the first timer comes in from out of state, California, first timer. He's doing a turnaround, is what they called it, right? You're going in 4 or 5?
Shafter alone. No, I was at Shafter alone 7 months at that place.
Because you were doing 16 with half, and
yeah.
you by the time you got to the county and the reception, and time you got to Shafter, we called it a turnaround. I was doing 18 months in that Thunderdorm hellhole.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And already you were problems from the very beginning. What? Right? You were problems.
Why do you say that?
Well, because you don't realize that California is a very racist state. It's the only place where you're incarcerated and you're segregated, meaning that you can't bunk with a black, you can't bunk with a Mexican, you have to stay white. And not only were you white, but you were Jewish, and I've always, this was my third term, I always hid the fact that I was Jewish, because you're not popular in a California Department of Corrections facility if you're Jewish. Not now where we were, you could get by, but you left a lot of broken glass where you went. I remember you coming up to me and asking me that you wanted a Star David tattoo, and you were going to ask the best tattoo artist in the dorm, which was a guy named Cowboy, who was a redneck skinhead. You don't ask a skinhead to tattoo a Star David.
Thumper gave me.
Yeah, Thumper gave it to you, but you asked the best tattoo artist in our dorm who was white and who was a skinhead. His name was Cowboy. You remember?
Is that what happened? I don't remember.
Yeah, Cowboy went right up to the shot caller and said, "Hey, we got to roll this kid up." And I remember Preston, and it was Preston. Yeah, it was Preston. Said, hey, we got to keep our numbers big in case we jump off. let's keep the guy, and we'll make him do burpees. Right? Did you have to do burpees? Okay, so you had to do burpees on the yard. I remember it wasn't inside. Yeah, you had to do burpees. And
I had a lot of problems with skinheads from the beginning. But I don't think Cowboy, I asked that because me and Cowboy had problems right from the start.
Yeah, he wanted you out of our dorm.
He asked me for ramen noodles the second I walked in the dorm, and I said, I'm putting my stuff away. I thought he was testing me. I did not give him a ramen. He wasn't. He was a few bunks down. He was near you, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe on top of you, on the bunk on top.
No, no, he wasn't. But he was a troublemaker for sure. And he punched that other Jewish guy.
He punched that other Jewish guy in the face in the dorm, and they rolled him up. So I didn't get rolled up.
You were next, though. You were next because you came before the committee again. Because you got in debt with the blacks or the Southsiders. You got in debt with the Southsiders.
No.
Over weed.
They got in debt with me.
Right. Over weed. You are not allowed to have another race. You're not allowed to have another race owe you money. Not the whites, right? And
they got in debt with me.
Preston was gone, and they left the keys to me, and it was my choice at that time. And, of course, I said double up the 88. You had to do – what's 88 and 88? You had to do a lot of burpees, let me tell you. You had to do a double set of burpees, okay, on the yard. And wait, what was it? And I remember you asked me, because we weren't really too close yet because you were always in the firing pod, you were always being looked at. And you said, why are you helping me? You said, why did you help me? Because I had to go out there, I think, with you the second time to do the burpees. If you were not going to get rolled up, they made me do burpees with you, or count them for you because I was over age. I didn't have to do it. So, and you said to me, I'll never forget this. You said, hey, why are you helping me so much, Rob? What's up? And I whispered in your ear. I said, because I'm Jewish. And you said, why are you whispering? Why are you whispering that you're Jewish? And he says, you have the keys to the dorm. Why are you whispering? And I realized I didn't have to whisper anymore about being Jewish.
I remember, yes. We were walking the yard together, and you confided in me that you were also Jewish. And I never hid it. When I went to jail or prison, they told me to hide it. They said, you should tell people you're Armenian.
How are you going to hide it with R11? Come on. You can't hide it. Yeah, it's like the Harold Steinberg. He couldn't hide it. He got punched and thrown in another door on the other side. But you got to stay in our dorm, and we became friends. And I think
I'm going to tell you this, Rob.
Yeah.
There were about 60 people in our dorm. 70 people at that yard, and I'm in
our pod.
Yeah, there wasn't one person in that place that I said to myself, I have any interest in ever talking to again except you.
Wait a minute. That's not entirely true. You try to screw that guy, the bald head Dan. What was his name? The bald head guy. He's dead, by the way. What was his name? Dale, his daughter. You said I'm gonna. You kept in contact with him to meet his porno star daughter. I think she was in porn at the time.
I didn't have any interest in having a friendship with anybody except you at that place. You made my time there a lot easier. We became friends. We had the tobacco together. I had the weed thing going on. I had a cell phone. There were a lot of cell phones in the dorm. And you had you were an amazing storyteller. I remember.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I made you fall in love with Missy. You fell in love with Missy there.
That was one thing, but and we'll talk about it. You had a
later.
Gift for captivating people with stories. Very good. And it was funny because
for making money. You had a gift for making money. Any way you could, any angle you could see it, you took care of us. We always ate soups every night. We had a joint to smoke every day, and you made the time go easier. And maybe one of the greatest things that you ever told me about, or that you told me about was Beit Teshuva. You said, "Hey Rob, you should really go to this place. They let you fuck the girls, and you get to eat teriyaki every Thursday or tri-tip every Thursday night. You got to go. All you have to do."
You have a funny memory. I don't remember that one.
Yeah,
but,
you say because
I couldn't have said that there because I didn't know about that then.
Yeah, you knew all about it. You told me what to say to Phil Hamburger.
I knew that I was going there, but I didn't know you could get with the girls at that point and stuff.
You said there were girls.
I must have told you that after when I was there.
No, you said it was co-ed. You said it was co-ed.
Oh, it was co-ed. Yes, it was co-ed.
Yeah.
I knew that. Yeah.
Well, in my mind, that means you get to screw the girls.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. So.
Yeah.
So what happened was I always felt in my heart I wanted to be sober. I knew for me it was the right thing, and I had just disgusted my family to the core. I mean, with being in prison and stuff. And so I found this rehab, Beit Teshuva, and I was applying there on a scholarship and a full free ride there. And it's not a cheap rehab. It's a pretty elite, nice, rehab compared to a lot. And, so I was telling Rob, I'm going to this place. You should apply too, since you're Jewish,
Right.
And
now were you court ordered? Did you still have to do a rehab? Oh, you weren't.
No.
Okay.
No, that was just a place I genuinely, there was always a place inside. I knew I was doing wrong and there was a better life for me, and I still had much more way to go after prison till I got sober. But I went there. I paroled there.
You were leaving.
Rachel, you still had time left. You still had time left. Yes.
And how long did you last there?
I lasted there.
It's a 90-day program. It's a 90-day program you signed up for. How long were you there?
I think I lasted 2 months there, probably.
60 days. You signed up for 90. You got kicked out at 60.
No, it was a 4 month. Was it more 90? I think I made it 90, and it was a 4 month program.
No, you were out. You were out 60 days. I remember. You got kicked out
on my birthday. My dad bought cake for the whole entire place, and I got kicked out.
You got kicked out for what?
I got kicked out because I was meeting up porn girls outside of the place and sneaking out.
You ran a train on a girl in there or something.
I did, yeah. And I snuck out at night, and I got.
It would be fair to say you weren't ready at that point to get sober.
I was not ready to get sober.
Okay,
no.
Okay.
And
now I get out, right? I get out, and I sign up for 90 days, and I stay there 3 years. Changed my life.
Did you stay there 3 years?
3 years, Ari. It was over.
No, there's no way. Rob,
Ari,
I'm going to tell you why. You left there and stayed with me in Santa Monica.
When I relapsed.
Yeah, that was 3
years. It was 3 years after I had paroled. Think about it. Yeah. Yeah. What year did you parole?
2010.
Okay. So I paroled that year and I was in. I relapsed in 2015, 14.
No, I got sober in 14. No, I got sober in January of 14. No.
Okay, so it was 2013 that I relapsed. 2013. Yeah, because I went through the program. I went to school. They paid for me to go to LA College. I got my certificate for the drug and alcohol, and I worked there 6 months at the end. I mean, after all that, so it was close to 3 years after I paroled. Oh no, I know what it was.
No, Rob,
It
no
was
way.
18 months. It was 18 months of sobriety in prison, and another 18 months at Beit Yeshiva. That was
Okay,
what I had
that
3 years.
sounds right. That
I
sounds
had 3
right.
years. That's
Yeah,
right.
18 months after you got out there. Yes.
I signed up for 19 days or 90 days, and I stayed 18 months.
Yeah, that sounds right. So you were there because I was running wild back out on the streets while you were there.
Yeah, by the time I got there, you were already gone. You were
Right.
just a memory. You were a legend. Actually, they were talking about you and another Ari, I guess. But and then let's go to the day that I relapsed. I'd been to your apartment.
Day you relapsed. Yeah.
I've
Well, we
been
had
to your
already been
apartment.
talking. Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, I've been to your apartment maybe a dozen times, and you had 3 bongs. You had always 3-foot or like 2.5-foot bongs. One was for white, one was for dark, and one was for weed, green. You had green, white, and brown. Always on your table. You had 3 bongs. One for heroin, one for crystal meth, and one for weed, right? And you were selling weed out of state. You know, you were making a shitload of money. I remember that. And I had been to your house a dozen times and never picked up the bong. Was strong in my recovery until one day I came over on a Friday. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know, but I picked up the white bong, and I took a hit, and I never got so high in my life. And that Friday turned into a Saturday, which I was off the weekend. I had to be at work as a counselor on Monday, and that Saturday turned into a Sunday, and the Santa Monica police came and raided you.
No, this was far after. This was far after.
What are you talking about? Yeah, Ari,
we were, well, not
Ari,
right away.
I relapsed on Friday at your apartment. I never left until the cops came and took us out. And they let me go, and they took you to jail. They put everybody in front.
No, I agree.
Weekend. Yeah, it was that weekend.
I thought you were living there for a while.
Living where?
With me.
No, I later on I think we did. No, I relapsed on a Friday, and Saturday, Sunday, and they came and broke your door down Monday morning. I was supposed to be at work that afternoon. I was going to go to work, and I was. You hooked me up with some porno star that ratted out Charlie Sheen. She was the whistleblower.
Yeah, Lindsay. Lindsay.
Yeah, and I was covered in baby oil, and next thing I hear put your surfboard and put your surfboards down and get put your surfboard down and get on your hands and knees. But they said search warrant, get on your hands and knees.
Yeah,
and then everybody was 20 years old, and I was a 45-year-old fat man because I had just been sober, covered in baby oil, completely naked in your bedroom. And I'll never forget, the cop said, "Hey, fat man, get your clothes on and get outside." And I had assumed the position. And what they did, the Santa Monica police did, was disgraceful. But you had a girl OD in your apartment, and a relative was on the Santa Monica Police Department, and I remember what they said to you, and that was it was scary, it was horrible, and what they did to Lindsay and what they did to you, and the names they called you was despicable, really.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. He said they said they were going to get you out of town, and they did, ultimately.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was pretty intense. There were a bunch of people at my place at 5 a.m. when, I don't know, they sent a fake person to come knock on the door, and they saw.
Dog. No, the guy comes up and says
he wanted to see how many people were in the place.
Right.
Yep.
And he said he lost his dog. Remember?
Yeah.
And then as soon as he closed the door, you knew something was funny. How would he know? Why would he think he'd come to this door for his dog? Nobody's been outside. Yeah. You knew it right away. I remember you knowing. And me, I was just trying to get Lindsay. I don't think I got her yet. And next thing I know, put down your surfboards and get down on your hands and knees. But they didn't say surfboards. They said search warrant. Right?
Yeah, that's right. And they strip searched me and Lindsay in the parking lot outside. They got us both completely naked.
Well, they told us in front, said, listen, if nobody lies about their name and gives us their right name, you will walk away from here. Lindsay gave them a fake name. You were not going to walk away. You weren't going to walk away. They were going to take you to jail. But they said everybody else, Lindsay, me, and 2 other guys were there, said, if you don't lie to us, we'll let you walk away from this. And she lied. She gave them a fake name, and they stripped her without a girl in the parking lot. I remember.
Yeah.
Without
and
a
I was
female
right
officer.
Next door. I was right next door. They stripped me completely naked, and I had abscesses on my arms and open wounds. I was extremely sick. I can't imagine what I looked like.
You looked like you were about 80 pounds, Ari. How much do you weigh now?
175.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. 175. And,
all right. So, of course, you remember what that head cop said to you. He called you every Jewish name.
Yes.
And said that I'm going to kick you out of this town because you had a girl OD who didn't die.
I'd have said that was like the 5th one.
Yeah, but one of them was related to an uncle or had an uncle on the Santa Monica Police Department, and that's why they came to your apartment.
Yeah, after enough ODs, they finally, they had enough.
But nobody died. When you say OD, nobody died.
Nobody died. No, I was a good Samaritan.
Thank God. Thank God.
Yeah, thank God.
Amazing.
I called every time, the EMS.
Yeah.
And it's pretty insane how I was living. It was nuts. And it was completely out of control. And then I went to jail and I got bailed out. And
I bailed
did
you.
not.
I took all. No. Yeah, I bailed you. Remember the money?
No. I remember the money. You didn't. I'm gonna remind you what happened.
Okay. All right. Tell me.
That girl who worked for the bail bonds, I didn't know who bailed me. I couldn't figure it out. She had that bail bond she worked for. Alyssa bailed me out. And you ended up loaning me the money for the bail and for the lawyer. You took care of me. You came through.
How much did I give you? Do you remember?
I don't remember. Do you?
5,500 seems to be a ring. I don't know.
No,
Maybe
I think it was more. It had to be more.
It was like 10. Because I had 20 something thousand saved for the 18 months I was at Beit Teshuva.
It had to be, maybe
10.
Yeah,
maybe it was 10. With that chick, Alyssa.
You're cutting out. You cut out, Rob. Hello, Rob. Rob lost service. So this is really big right now. This is really big. Seriously, I'm from my heart, Rob. I mean this. I am super grateful you're doing this because I only tell my viewers about where I came from, and they never hear it from like how deep I was in and how crazy it was. So this kind of video, it means a lot, and I appreciate it. And so we left off. The Santa Monica police raided the house, raided the apartment, called me every Jewish name in the book after 6 ODs. You went back to the treatment center after when I went to jail, and I got bailed out, and you were kind enough to loan me the money, partially, not the entire bail, because I still owed on it after that. So to pay off the amount of the bail bonds to satisfy him for the time being, and money to put a down payment on a lawyer named Willoughby.
Apartment with a broken door.
With a broken door, and then
your apartment, it had a broken door.
It had a broken door and no electricity, I don't think.
And then,
So things really started falling apart for me then. I was doing really well up till the raid. And I pretty much, I mean, financially at least. I mean, I was not mentally doing
the raid,
well.
That was
I mean, before the raid, you were living.
Remember you were making at that time when at that apartment, but you were making thousands of dollars, thousands. I mean, I remember a shipment of $5,600 would come in every other day. What was? How were they sending it? It was email? No, it wasn't email. It was um, you had an online account. Well, I can't remember
Yeah.
back then what it was.
Yeah.
What it
Yeah.
was. They were
Yeah.
they were
Yes.
mailing that checks, but you showed me your statement to your B of A. You made $22,000
Yeah, I was
in
doing
1 month,
well. Yeah, sometimes in a day.
right?
Sometimes I do that in a day, depending on. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I saw
And
your bank account. Your when you
yeah,
said I loaned me the money, I knew you were good for it. But
I was, and
you
things really
rapidly
fell apart.
declined fast. I mean, from that point, Ari, from that point, just a question: how long was it from that raid to you actually leaving LA? What was the time span? Because I can't remember.
A couple of years. It was a couple of years because I
It
went
was
to.
less than that.
No, it wasn't. Remember, even I went to
You rem-
Acton. I went to
Yeah,
Acton
go ahead.
rehab. I went to
Right.
rehab. I took a jail.
That's when I lost your business.
Yeah, I took a joint suspension. I went to rehab,
Yeah.
and then I met Michelle, and we traveled on the streets together for a long time.
The last time I saw you, you and Michelle that's Missy, that's Deb's girlfriend. You were living on a bench. You were living out of a bench with a brand new computer, right? And nothing else, and a big chunk of heroin.
Yeah. So just to even back it up, Rob, before even the raid, I remembered the porn mansion we were going to invest in. Do you remember the porn mansion?
Yeah, I had $30,000 saved.
Yeah.
No, they were called model houses.
Model house. We were going to have
Remember?
we were
I
going to have
almost invested.
porn star drama. We were going to have
Model houses.
yeah, women living there in the valley.
No, you had this idea that to stick. It was, you know what? In hindsight, looking back, we probably should have done it because you knew so many porn stars that were in the double figure, triple figures, making thousands of dollars and homeless in their car.
Yeah. So you used to talk about in prison.
Anyway, go ahead.
In prison, we didn't really talk about this. You used to talk about Michelle. You used to talk about this girl that was a close friend of yours, someone who you were really tight with. And I heard all about her. And then you had an apartment together.
We had an apartment together. I too was fighting a case. They gave me drug court. I violated by giving a dirty test, and they came to that apartment and swooped me up. And I left poor Michelle there alone to be to the wolves. And I was gone for 18 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I got out, she was working at the Gentleman Club,
the Rhino.
Experiment Rhino, and she introduced me to a girl named Teresa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who decked out your car.
Her and a friend, Teresa. Well, my car was I took the back seats out of my Land Rover.
Yeah.
And I made it a studio apartment on 4-wheel drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, you knew the back of that truck really well. But you know what I never understood, Ari, and I don't mean to get off topic, was you, me, and Michelle had a threesome once. And she could, after it was at your apartment or somewhere around there, and nothing of it. There was, and she didn't really like you. I mean, she didn't make, And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, we have another threesome, and she fell in love. I don't get that.
What did you do?
I don't get it either.
You did nothing. You did nothing. The second threesome was at that Van Nuys apartment. She got off work at the Experiment Rhino and drove all the way down. And I guess she saw stars or something. She saw the moon and the rainbows and stars. I just thought it was just another, good, whatever. And she fell in love with you.
We hit it off.
Maybe it was because the second time your dick got hard.
Maybe we we hit it off. I don't know.
Yeah, you did.
No, the first time, Rob, I met her, there was no threesome.
Yeah.
She had her boyfriend there.
After your apartment, was it in your apartment? It was at where were we?
A Voyager.
You're up in my deck of the Malibu, maybe. No, that was the second time. The
Right.
first time you ever had sex with her, with me, you and her, yeah, we left and there was no talk of it. That was it, you know. And,
Yeah,
she was
we
a
were
good
smoking
girl, though.
crack.
She
There was
Oh,
crack.
hope she doesn't see the podcast. Yeah,
So,
it was
yes.
crazy. I'll tell you how crazy it was. I'll tell you how crazy it was. Your apartment had been broken into because they raided it, so the front door never really locked. You would prop it up with some books or whatever you did. Your apartment was going. It was after the rehab. Your door was still open. We'd prop it up with books to keep it closed. You said, Rob, go to Burbank and buy me a quarter ounce of meth or half ounce of meth and a quarter of heroin. It was a heroin and meth run. And you gave me $375 to go get it. And I don't remember, you sent me with somebody, one of your friends, okay? And I never thought to myself, well, why aren't you coming? But you said you didn't want to go, blah, blah, blah. It'll be easy. He's driving this chick, Alyssa's driving this car. You'll meet him in Burbank. And you give him the money, they'll give you the dope, you come home. So I get there, I see the car, parked behind it. Next thing I know, a guy and a girl pull out with a gun pointed sideways and a police badge saying, Burbank Police, give me all your money. I had, up to that point, never had a 9mm pointed at my head, ever. So what did I do? I gave him the money. You never batted a wing about the money. You were worried about me. You said, "Is there?" You know, but you knew something was going to happen. You knew it. That's why you didn't go.
Whoa.
I never
What
really
do you
thought
mean?
back.
What do you mean I knew something was going to happen?
I mean, something was going to happen because you were having problems with that chick, because that chick, you couldn't believe that chick could rob you because you didn't know who robbed the house.
Me and her were friends. That girl would run circles around most people I know. She was out of control. And
Right.
I thought she was a friend of mine. And I think
you
thought I set you up.
Well, I never thought it was you.
Oh,
I knew it was them, but because you were in love with that Alyssa, you liked her, you wanted to get with her, but you knew enough not to go. You sent me instead.
But not because I knew something was going to happen.
Right?
Not because I knew there would be. Not because I knew she'd rob you.
Even after that, no.
You see, I'm going to tell you something, Rob. You have a really good memory.
Yeah.
Because some of the stuff you tell me is hard for me to recall.
Yeah.
And I don't remember all of it. I will tell you what I do remember.
Okay.
When you loaned me that money, I think that was a bad thing for our friendship. And I think our drug use together caused a lot of paranoia towards each other and anger. And like, you were a guy who, like, I freaking, from my heart, loved hanging out with you. Like, when me and Michelle were homeless on the streets and I got an opportunity to hang, like, for you to pick us up and hang out, you might think that I was using you for a ride, and there might be some truth to that, like, because I was homeless, but I genuinely always enjoyed being around you until we got at each other's throats. And until we would get it, until we would be paranoid at each other and get at each other's throats, and then my head was going to explode, which is probably all my fault. I'm sure a lot of it. But I always looked forward. When I didn't see you for a while, or I was on the streets, I always looked forward to seeing you. There was a fun part of hanging out with you.
Well, I always looked at you as I had some of me always wanted to protect you a little bit. Always, like I always felt like you were kind of like a little brother to me that I never had. I always only had bigger brothers. So I always, whenever I saw you, I always thought, what would be in your best interest? I've had other people tell me that I'm a good friend and I'm loyal well, here, a guy broke it down to me. He said, Ari, he said this to me. He said, listen, in life, there's two kinds of people. There are liabilities and there's people who are assets. Which one are you? And I can, without any doubt in my mind, say whatever friends I have, I am an asset to them every time. Never a liability. You, on the other hand, were an asset. No, you were an asset because you knew how to make money when I wouldn't even think. I mean, you showed me how to make money, even to tell what a doctor would. To this day, I still get my Xanax from the time that you told me what to say to the doctor, and I still have a script from that.
That's my contribution to you as a friend. I hope I can do better.
You were an asset.
Okay.
You told me how to talk to doctors. I didn't know how to talk to doctors. You taught me a lot of other things too.
I think when you take two people like us and the kind of drugs that we were doing together, there is a paranoia with it and an irritation that can form. And I think it gets between us. And I think that me dating Michelle was drove a really big wedge between us. I really, I know that in my heart, that drove a wedge between us. And I understand why. I mean, I do. I could see why. That was, I mean, you knew her first. And
now,
it was,
and now we both don't talk to her.
No, that's okay with me.
Or you talk to her.
No, I haven't talked to her.
You don't talk to her anymore.
No.
I know. And believe it or
when
not,
I started dating Stephanie, I told her that I was dating somebody and I was going to give it a real shot and see how it went. And she got very pissed at me, and we haven't spoken since.
Oh, Michelle, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I where I found Michelle, where I was, what my friend went to jail, Devery. I don't know if you ever met him, but he went to jail. Okay, so I met Missy through him, and the full circle is that I was close friends with Libby right here, right?
Just so everyone knows, Missy was Michelle's stage name, just so you know why he's saying Missy.
Right, Missy Lane, right? Yeah, but you remember Libby, right? Libby, show your face.
Libby, I do remember you. I remember you. I met you more than one occasion, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay,
do you remember me, Libby?
I do.
You do now.
I didn't remember so much what you looked like, but I remember the situations that I found myself in with you and Rob, like in your place, and a lot of drug paraphernalia, lots of places, me being a bad hooker, all kinds of things that were just.
Do you remember the bad hooker story?
What's the bad hooker story?
Remember that?
No.
Libby was telling you that she used to be a hooker in Las Vegas, and she made all this money, and she said the best nights I would have is when I'd go to the guy and he was so drunk and I would just, not even have to touch him and grab his money and leave and still get paid. And you're all, oh, so you're a bad hooker. Right?
Well, I take it back.
No, it was funny. I mean, so you're a bad hooker. You didn't know what to say to that. You stumped her.
I never heard anything like that.
So Michelle, I took from Dev, and Dev never forgave me. Okay, and now this beautiful girl right here, who finally left her abusive boyfriend, came out back up to live with me, and I ended up introducing her to Dev, the one that Michelle was with, and now these guys are getting married.
You're getting married to Dev. Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. They live together now. You remember.
So a few events. So, I mean, we had a good time because I remember being in the back of your van and you would drive what I was scared out of my mind through the mountains. You drove, and I don't know if you were doing it to purposely scare me or if that was just.
No, because I was scared too.
You were
scared too, but I acted like I wasn't scared.
Really?
We through some crazy Santa Monica. Yeah, because we went back in Westlake and some of those mountains and trails that I'd never been on. I mean, I'd been on them on a bike or a motorcycle, but never in in a Land Rover, and there were some things that I'd always try to appear calm so nobody else would get nervous.
Oh my God,
But
I was
I remember
freaking
that we had a
out.
threesome. We had a threesome in back of that Land Rover back in the mountains there. And then we in the morning, you guys never stopped. I went in back of the driver's wheel, and I'm driving around while you guys are still bumping my car, right? And I'll never forget. We get to the gas station, and Michelle gets out of the car and comes to me and says, "Rob, we could never have sex again." I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "I'm in love with Ari, and we could never have sex." So I said, I got all pissed off, and I drove her back to her car, her BMW, which was parked at the Chevron. I drove her back, and you had plane tickets to leave town that night to Michigan, and I said, "Get out of my car, Missy. I don't want to ever see you again. I'm taking Ari to the airport alone." And next thing I know, I see you getting out my car, and you're putting all your stuff in her BMW.
I never went on the flight.
And check this out.
I never went home to visit.
No, I went back to my ex-girlfriend's hotel room, Tyler, right?
Yep.
And you guys drove off into the sunset. And when you didn't make your plane, you came back to my girlfriend's hotel, my ex-girlfriend.
And you
my
let me
girlfriend at
hang
the
out
time,
in the back of
she
your
didn't know.
car with Michelle all night.
But you said, "Rob, Tyler doesn't really care about you." And I was lost in love with her, and I said, "Bullshit, Ari, you don't know what you're talking about." And you said, "Wait a minute." And you took my phone and you called her, and you were talking to her, and next thing I know, I hear Tyler saying to you, "Oh, that dude's a clown. I never considered him a boyfriend. You think da, 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 da." And it broke my heart so bad. The world stopped still for a second. Do you remember that moment?
I don't. I remember telling you she was no good.
I know that, but you proved it to me.
She was the collector.
Yeah.
You proved it to me, and I had to face all that when I didn't want to face it. I had to, because she said it right blankly, and she's a moron because you called from my phone. She should have known I was listening, but she didn't. She really thought I wasn't listening, and you could tell, So check this out.
God.
So this is the funniest thing. So I let Ari and my ex-girlfriend Michelle, whatever, sleep in the back of my truck while I go in with my other ex-girlfriend Tyler in the hotel room. The next morning, my friend Ronnie calls and says, "Hey man, we're gonna go do Stunt Road." Now, to this point, I had never done this one trail. It's supposed to be the massivest trail in all of Santa Monica Mountains for mountain biking, right? It's a 2-car thing where you drive one car, you take the bikes all the way up to this peak, and then you park that car, and then you drive down to the other car. Well, that night when he came, I put his suitcase on top of my Land Rover, but I never tied it down because I didn't know we were going anywhere, right? It was just sitting up there on the rack, right? Ari's suitcase.
I remember this.
So yeah, so listen, so Ronnie comes over early in the morning with Jason. They got their bikes all in the truck, and this is my first day that I was ever going to do Stunt Road. I mean, I've been hearing about Stunt Road from Ronnie for a year. He would never take me. This was the day he was going to take me, right? So we go to Stunt Road, and I remember I said, "I can't go. Ari's in the back of my truck. We need 2 cars, and I was going to put my bike in the back of their truck, but we needed 2 cars, one to park, one to drive up, and so we could ride down. It's like a 2-hour ride downhill. And so of course, Ronnie talks me into it, right? So he said, "Just go. They'll never know. We'll park the car down below. They'll sleep in. They're all heroined out. They won't know." I said, "All right, seemed like a good idea." So we leave, and the first turn onto the 101 freeway, Ari's suitcase takes a left fucking turn off my thing. And I know, I see it, but I'm already on the on-ramp. There's nothing I can do, so I have to drive on the freeway. I get off, and Ronnie calls me, "What are you doing, dude?" I said, "Dude, his suitcase fell off." So he's following me. We cut back around, get off the freeway, get on the freeway, go all the way back. I get to the point where I was, and there's no suitcase.
Oh, it
So
was my suitcase?
we
Was that my suitcase?
Yeah,
Oh my
it was
God.
your suitcase, and we park, and I'm looking down the freeway entrance. It's gone. Somebody just right behind me saw it all happen and probably put the suitcase in their car and took off because that suitcase. We went right back. I mean, I had to go one exit forward, get off, go across the freeway, one exit on, then get off the freeway, get on that on ramp again. But before the on ramp, I pulled over and we could not find your suitcase. So at that point, Ronnie, I go to Ronnie. I said, dude, I got to wake him up right now. I got to tell him that his suitcase is gone. He's all, dude, why? He said, why tell him now? I mean, why ruin it all? I mean, you could at least go on a bike ride. I mean, he's going to get mad or whatever, but tell him after we ride. So he talks me into it again, right? When it sounded like a reasonable idea. So okay, so we go, right? And all the time, Michelle is halfway up. She's listening to me and Ronnie dispute whether I should wake you up right now or whether just go riding and tell him when he wakes up, right? So we go riding, right? We go and we get up there and immediately I should have known the day was jinxed because we parked my car down below with him and her sleeping. I put my bike in Jason's truck and we all three go to the top of the hill. Within 30 minutes, I get a flat tire, back flat tire, and it's leaking air real slow. So I have to get off the trail, and I end up taking it. What would normally take me 2 hours to do takes me like 3.5 hours to get down to my truck. And I get down to my truck, and there's Ronnie and Ari, and Ronnie's playing like he doesn't know anything happened, right? And Ari says, "Where's my luggage?" And like they're all looking at me like I stole it, like and Ari said, "Well, I had a case of Suboxone in there. That was my Suboxone, which you later told me was a lie. But you said I had a case of Suboxone, and you were really upset with me. And to make matters even worse, on my mother's eyes, I swear to God, that's the way it happened. Michelle said she heard me say I took it on purpose or something. She said I heard her. I mean, it was like, what the fuck? It was like I couldn't win anything that day, and I don't know if you know, but that's exactly what happened, dude.
Well, I believe you. I mean, you have no reason to lie about that now. It sucks because through my travels there, I lost everything like 5 times over. I remember I just kept losing more.
Well, that must have been the third time or something, the third or fourth time. But I had nothing to do with it except that I let Ronnie talk me into driving my truck, and we forgot to tie down your luggage, and off it went.
You had something to do with it then. Yeah.
No, that's what I had to do with it. But hey, after stealing one of my girlfriends, you showed up at my other girlfriend's house. We're looking for a place to stay. I gave you my truck. I did give you like a little brother. I could not say no to you. I mean, you missed your plane. You had nowhere to go, so you came back with my ex-girlfriend in your. Tyler kicked me out and moved you guys into her hotel. Remember that?
No,
it was right around Thanksgiving
for a couple days. You guys got in a fight
right at Thanksgiving.
She was miserable. Yep. Yeah, that was bad.
She was a miserable.
We had to get out of there. We had to get out of there.
Tyler, Libby knows Tyler. You sent her to collect on me. Yeah. Supposed to collect. Well, she said, how much does that little chick owe you to Libby? I said, she owes me like $50. She's all, let's go there now. And threaten Libby for the money.
Rob, we did a lot of continental breakfast too. A lot of continental breakfasts we had.
Yeah.
Who
was that bald-headed guy, the white cider we were in prison with? He went out with your ex, that porn star called Cox.
Rocks? Rachel?
Rachel Cox.
Rachel Rocks.
Yeah. He was going out with her. Rachel Rocks. And this guy was in chapter with us. He was a Jewish Bald white guy that ran with the homies. The Pinocchio.
Orlando.
Yeah.
He didn't date her though.
Orlando. Yeah. I want you to know Orlando came and helped me out one time, man, when I was having problems with Tyler.
Yeah, he
came and
became
picked me
friends
up,
with
man,
Rachel. He became friends with Rachel Rocks, my ex.
He had videos of them going to hotels eating continental breakfasts.
We did a lot of continental breakfast.
Yeah. It was the first time I ever seen. It was the first time I ever seen your ex not in a porn star, not in a porn movie. She was on a recorded thing, going sneaking into hotels eating breakfasts.
Well, she's doing very well now. She's not in the industry. She moved to Texas and is raising her kid. She's doing well. She got sober.
Now this is a sad, sad song. It's about this girl in a river bottom. A place so real you could die. A place where a man goes to hide. So come with me to the bottom, where cries become melodies. Down there at the bottom, where girls are hanging from trees. What do you think? I call it the river bottom.
I love it.
That's my own right there.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Right.
We're back. I recorded that.
And, cool.
And I want to know, Rob, tell people here, I didn't get the answer to this. Why are you skeptical of doing the podcast?
It wasn't the podcast I was skeptical of doing. I was a little skeptical on you. Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Okay. Well, I can't explain it in so many words, but let me show you why. Because this was me and this was you. You were the wolf in sheep's clothing.
Okay.
And really? I mean that. And I mean that in the nicest way, because I was afraid hanging out with you, because every time I hung out with you, something bad happened. The first time I relapsed, we met in prison, right? We met in prison. Then you gave me good advice. I happened to listen to you, and I went to Beit Shuvah, had an experience in my life, and then we got raided that weekend. We got raided, and then I remember the time taking you to court and your dad showing up, and you were like, it was like all at once. You had the devil on one side saying, "Give him the dope, give him the dope," and your dad's on the other, "Don't give my son any dope, don't give my son any dope." And I was caught in between, and I was scared of your dad and you, and you put me right in between, and I sided with your dad. I threw it away, and then the minute you flew out or you were gone, Ronnie said, "Why didn't you give him the dope?" I said, "I don't know why." He said, "Give it to him," and I didn't listen.
Tell the people, my dad. Just to tell the people, my dad flew out to California and showed up at my court date, and I
unexpectedly
didn't know he was going to fly out. I had no clue.
We all didn't have a clue. He showed up. We were staying at the Embassy Suites right there. With Ronnie. Yeah, Ronnie. And him too. He's another wolf in sheep's clothing.
Did my dad actually tell you?
He shook his head, Ari. He went like this.
You're making it sound like I didn't know that.
He went like this. He went like that. He gave me a little nod, like not to do it, and we were all there. And I don't know. I was gonna do it. It was like the same time when I got in the car accident with Tyler. Everybody told me, don't, everybody who did heroin said, of course you bring into Cedar Sinai heroin for her. And everybody who did speed said, Are you crazy? Don't do it. But unfortunately, I brought her heroin. They couldn't put her under, and she hobbles to this day because she couldn't get the right, surgeries because they kicked her out.
But when you say a wolf in sheep's clothing, it kind of paints the picture that I was maliciously out to get you.
You weren't. You were a very devious-minded person, though, and you knew how to make money, and you were always a good friend. I'll always admit that. You gave me solid advice. You did, and I actually listened to you when I listened to no one else. And I did. I went to Beit Teshuva, which was it was greatest time, one of the greatest times of my life. It was like going to Jerusalem in Culver City. It was fantastic. And you told me how to talk to doctors, and I to this day I talk to doctors. They still prescribe me Xanny bars, but I'm down to 12, from 120 14 years ago to 12, but I still get the bars, 2 milligrams, and
Right. I always had the bars going.
You remember the first guy you brought me to Santa Monica. I went to your doctor. He was easy like butter, just like you said he was.
Yeah, it seemed like the doctors are kind of reckless.
You were the youngest, biggest brother I had.
Yeah, I never felt. I'm telling you, to this day, almost 11 years sober in January. Looking back, I know I caused trouble in your life, and being around me attracted things, but I never wanted to screw you. I never had any intent to.
I might have thought so back then, but I know now that was not your intention. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But at some point it became not so fun, and it became when I saw you and Michelle sleeping under that bench. It was it was hard. It was heartbreaking.
What bench was that?
It were somewhere in L.A. You all you had on you was a brand new. It was the night. It was right around January. It was December. It was December, and then I was pretty paranoid, and you were staying in LA under a bench, and you were just fine with that.
Yeah.
You always had a positive mental attitude. PMA. Only a couple times did I ever see you that you were really down and needed cheering up, but most of the time I came to you, you were always positively, mentally, had a good attitude. PMA. Positive mental attitude.
I've never heard that, but looking back, I always felt like there was some light in me. Like I knew I was better than the life I was living. There was some force like trying to get me out of it. It felt like, like I knew this. I knew I could do better. Like I knew, like living on the streets, being in prison as a Jewish guy from Farmington Hills, Michigan. Like I just knew the life I was living I knew there was better out there for me. I knew like I was in prison with a lot of people, and they would have attitudes like, oh, next time I come, they were already planning the next term and stuff. And like, they just accepted that was the life for them. There's a lot of like the Mexicans and stuff there just accepted that this is the life for me. I'm just going to be in and out of prison my whole life. Like they already knew it. And I never felt in my heart like this is the life for me, just doing heroin and crystal and living on the street. And, like when that dog, remember the dog came up to us?
That it was half alive, that with ticks and fleas and what? Or is the puppy? It was a puppy.
His name was I named him Sylvester.
Right,
and
I remember.
He walked up to us, and I remember you said, "Oh, he looked me in the eye." Like, oh no, like, and I took him, and I had a little money for dope, and I used it. I used the little money I had for dope. I was homeless, and I was like hanging out in your truck, and we were at a parking lot somewhere, and he looked at me.
A bench, I remember you and Michelle.
He ended up rolling with me for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
Bench. And that dog, I got him cleaned up, and there was always a light, I felt. That dog like brought it out too, like showed me I was still alive. You know, I still had
What happened to that dog?
some life in me. Even my dad came to visit, and I had to turn him into a pound. My dad came and took me and Michelle out to La Jolla, and I couldn't find a home for him for the weekend, and I had to bring him to a rescue. And I found out years later, I called like 50 rescues in LA because I felt so bad for abandoning that dog. In sobriety, I was like crying about it. Like, how could I do that to that dog? He relied on me, and I ended up finding out he got a home. I made a whole video about it. It was
now.
amazing.
Wait a minute. Did you? When you see? I remember this. I remember. Let me put the phone down. I remember even when you went to prison, you had a good attitude about being there. It's like almost like you were like studying for school. Like you had your little notebook and your pencil, and you were writing down notes. Like, this is my first. You weren't shy about saying this is my first time. You had just got to California, had some very like disturbingly random fucking raids that got you arrested for marijuana sales. You're wrong house, wrong time, wrong place, whatever, which happens in LA all the time. And you had a good attitude through it. And I knew, even when I got out and you were kicked out of Beit Teshuvah, I knew the only weird place you were going to make it was back in Michigan. Believe it or not. I mean, I knew it deep in my heart that, and I think you knew it too. You just were avoiding it every last chance you could get not to jump on that plane. And you know, for whatever reason, I felt like that was going to be your way out, was when you jumped on a plane. Now, when you jumped on that plane, Michelle went with you, or you sent for her later?
When I actually left?
When your dad took you back to Michigan, Michelle didn't go with you. You went on. You said she went on a vacation when you first left.
I went back to the rehab. I went on a Greyhound because I had warrants in Michigan, so I didn't want to fly.
But you said you came out of the hospital. You came out of the hospital. Your brother came and visited you. You didn't take a Greyhound from there, did you?
I came out of the hospital. Then me and Michelle hit the streets, and I went to jail. They did a warrant check at a motel. And I went to jail for 8 days out of 6 months or something, 12 days out of 6 months. And my brother came and sent me home on a Greyhound.
Yeah. And that was it. Yeah. That was all you needed.
Michelle had visited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once or twice, right?
She visited twice. Yeah. She came in town and visited twice for a long week, for a weekend.
And she stayed sober. Twice. She stayed sober.
Yeah, she's been sober as long as I have, a couple weeks longer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
But you've seen me at my worst.
Your worst, Ari.
You've seen me at my very worst.
Your worst. Yeah. And you know what? It was, though. It was terrifying for me, actually. But it was terrifying for me to see, like.
What do you remember seeing me like?
I remember seeing you. Like I remember this bench in LA. I don't know why this bench sticks out. It was right around the Motel 6 time, and I remember, like, I was so okay. So I was really, because I had lost it. I went into a psychosis. From there, I went thinking Tyler was chasing me.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I went into a 3-day psychosis. I was walking the streets in board shorts and flip flops and a shirt, and I wouldn't cross. I was in the North Hollywood area looking for Preston because he had stolen all my stuff from my car when I got in the accident with the Land Rover, and then I was in a neighborhood, and I kept walking back and up the street, and I wouldn't pass the sewer, because if I did, there were voices in the sewer going to let me know what the truth is, and I wasn't ready to handle the truth. So I kept turning around and walking back and forth for hours. And then the neighborhood, they called the police on me. Police came down. They put me in the back of they didn't handcuff, put me in the back of the seat and drove me to another neighborhood and let me out there, where I continued to walk another 12 hours back and forth because I would not pass the sewer. I heard noises in the sewer that I couldn't. It was going to tell me the truth, and I wasn't ready to hear the truth. And what broke me free, I mean, was the victory sign. I saw the sign and it said victory on it, and that broke it. 3 days I mean, I didn't eat, drink, or nothing. And then when I hit me victory, I was able to walk past the sewer. I was able to catch the bus, and I took the bus all the way to Westlake. And I forget where it stopped, at Topanga. You had to catch a certain bus. I had missed it, the last bus. I ate at a Subway, and I walked in. I was ready to give this watch to the Subway, and the owner said, keep your watch, get him whatever he wants. It was the first time I ate food in 3 days, and I made it home. And that was the scariest time of my whole life. I went into a short psychosis here when I first got this apartment, but nothing was like that 3 days out there in the valley. And it was horrible. I didn't want anybody to see me. Yeah.
It's a terrible
I had the
feeling.
Truman
I remember being up for a week. And yeah, I remember, Rob, being up for a week and many times, and I was hallucinating, thinking everybody was plotting to rob me, thinking people were in the closet with guns. I don't know if you remember, I used to have a camera in my apartment in Santa Monica, a hidden camera. You could see it. I remember you knew about it.
Yeah, you told me.
And I would go in the bathroom when I'd have people over, like girls, like Lucy or friends, guys, and I would go in the bathroom and pretend I was in the bathroom. I mean, I wasn't, and I would watch it from my iPad to see what they would do. And I would sit there for like 2 hours, and they were probably just high, wondering what I was doing. And I'd watch to see if they'd try and rob. I'd purposely leave little drugs out to see if they'd pocket it or do things.
Remember.
And I'd set Lucy up, leave some stuff out because I thought it was cute if she'd steal from me. And, just weirdo stuff that you only do when you're that high.
I remember watching
that I would
watching with the time they broke into your apartment, and we watched it on camera. And that's when we heard put down your search warrant, get down your hands and knees. And I thought they said surfboards. We watched that camera. That was fun. But you were ahead of your time, Ari. Nobody was doing cameras back then. You were ahead of your time. You were a little high on the tech part of everything, and you had that advantage, and you knew which way the world was headed. If only we would have put money in Bitcoin. Damn.
Yeah, I remember you used to pull up at the gas stations and set up like you were there for a while, and you ask if you could get a squirt.
Yeah. And that's when gas was cheap. Now you have to say, "Hey, can I have the whole download, the whole load?" Yeah, I remember that. It was very effective. In the right frame of mind, I made a full tank very fast.
You'd say to me, "Well, watch what happens when I ask for a squirt. They fill up half the dang thing."
Yeah. And people, it was just one of those things, We learned. Yeah. Now I would go to the gas station. I would be so embarrassed. I drive a Prius, but go ahead.
Do you remember the storage unit? The storage unit you had decked out at the you had a storage unit by the ocean, a storage
in the harbor,
decked out with power and stuff.
Yeah,
there'd be playing. There'd be all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, no, I had a living room laid out in the storage. Yeah. Because I was living in my car.
Yeah. Tell the story about when the bounty hunters came to get me and I called on you.
All right. Well, I think in last time we talked, you spoke about you sent me on a drug run, and I went to Burbank, and it was the first time I had a 9mm put up to my head with a guy saying Burbank police, and it was him, a twin brother, and that girl, Alyssa. Okay. So fast forward, I get a phone call. I went back to Beit Shuva, trying to get sober, see how it was. They were trying to work with me, and I get a phone call one night, and you're at McDonald's using the bounty hunter's phone to call me, and you said, Rob, go home and lock my apartment. And so, I remember I didn't even have access to my car. I was on blackout there, but I got my roommate. I told him the situation, and he gave me a ride to your apartment complex and dropped me off. And I'm walking in. I'm coming in your corridor. I see the broken door still broken. I push it open, and I see a guy and a girl. And the first thing he does when he sees me is he holds up a badge and says, Burbank Police. Stop right there. This is the Burbank Police. But this time he didn't have a gun. Okay. So I mean, I remember I was in flip flops, and I broke almost every glass in your house with his head. I grabbed him, and I took you at a bar area, and I took him and flew him across the bar area, went and grabbed him again, got him and started banging him against the furniture. Why Alyssa, whatever the chick's name was, on my back hitting me, saying, stop it, don't kill him. And somehow, I don't know what I did. I stepped on a piece of glass. It went through my foot. I went down, and they ran. They didn't even go through the door. They ran. They broke right out the window. And I went to the Santa Monica hospital.
So just to recap.
Okay.
Yeah. So people know Alyssa worked for the bail bonds company, and
Right.
she was the one who told me she was coming to deliver me drugs while she was having the bounty hunters come to kick in my door to revoke my bond that she had set me up with. She worked for the bail bonds company. She waited till the bounty hunters took me out of the place. She knew they were coming because she set them up to get me.
That's what you
so
said.
She could
yeah.
rob me of everything in my apartment.
Right.
So I called you, and you said that Alyssa chick and the guy were there, and I told the bounty hunters, and they were so pissed because they knew that she set them up she knew they set them up to get me so she could rob me. And you cut your foot and went to the hospital, and she came back, and they finished the job. And I came out of jail and had nothing in my apartment. They cleaned me out, and you were there. You couldn't do anything more. I mean,
I had
unlocked.
like 13 stitches in my foot, and I remember, you know what you said to me you said to me when I said, Ari, that was fucked up. I hurt myself. You said to me, well, at least you got your revenge against the guy who held the gun on your head.
That's what I said. Well, I was probably very upset that I just lost everything I owned.
Yeah. I tried to save it for you, buddy. I was probably
so devastated.
Yeah. They didn't come back that night, though, because
you were.
The security guard was there when he called 911 on me, and I had to leave in an ambulance. I wanted to go back to Beit Teshuva, but he said, your foot's bad. You got to get it stitched up. And he promised he would stay guard on that room all night. And, who knows? Maybe, who knows? It was a bad scene. And that was not the first time Alyssa robbed you. It was like the second and third time you got robbed from her.
She was a slick chick.
She really was.
I don't remember. Yeah. Yeah, I remember. The other thing is we got arrested together, and we were leaving Gay Josh's. We were picking up, copping at Gay Josh's.
Oh, Koreatown.
And, and the cops were watching his place, and me and
Michelle,
yeah,
I forgot all about that one.
Michelle got arrested together, and they took you and me to jail. And
That's right.
I remember warning Josh when we got bailed out that they were watching his place, and Michelle put the drugs in her panties and tried to take responsibility because I had a joint suspension and was going to go to prison if I got caught. And I remember getting out of there, and all I could think about was getting high on H. And
How did we get out of there?
Saying to me, we got bailed out.
From who?
I don't know if Alyssa, my friend, remember Alyssa, the older chick, Alyssa, who
no,
picked us up.
I thought the bail bond chick was Alyssa.
Another Alyssa, the sugar mama, the one that I had.
Well, that tells you right there. You got to leave Alyssa's alone. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So she had us bailed out. She bailed us both out, and I remember the only thing I could think about was copping H because I was dope sick, and your car had been impounded and stuff. And I remember you were so pissed at me. You said, "Ari, you got this monkey on your back that you got to deal with," and I couldn't. It's all I could think about because I was so sick from dope. It was a horrible feeling, absolutely horrible. And
I mean. I think I've lived in California for 55 years. I think you've done more damage you got in more trouble than I have my whole life by far. And you've
done like 3 prisons.
A lot of trouble you got in, Ari. I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
And you're right.
No,
you didn't need to. You really had no intentions of starting any type of confrontation or disruption. But trouble followed you, man. Like you would not believe.
And that bail bondsman screwed me. Remember, they revoked my bail. I was late to court that day, and
they took all of that money.
I mean, it was my fault, but they took all that money. Yeah, all that money, $10,000. And I remember just meeting a bail bonds too from. I had to when the bounty hunters got me. I had to I called random bail bondsmen and got one to take me out on my promise to pay. One who didn't even know me. Another $100,000 bail, and he bailed me out. And the last memory I had with you. I mean, I have a lot, but camping out at the beach. You set me and Michelle up for like 10 days. I was out there. I don't know if you remember that at Ronnie's 10-person tent.
Yeah.
And you kept telling me you were going to come and bring us food and this and that. And I don't know, you were out doing your thing, and we were like abandoned I was like coming off dope, and
I remember. But you were in a $1 million Malibu.
I want to know something because I never got to ask you.
What?
Were you and Ronnie riding bikes through the trail and avoiding us? Was there so we couldn't see you? Were there a bike ride going on where do you remember showing up?
It's possible
with Ronnie.
It's definitely possible because that's what we did. We rode bikes. I stuck you up at the bluffs though, or were you down on the beach?
This was at the bluff. This was a 10-person tent in the bluffs, like on the top. Up there, no one could see us, and we were you were like abandoned there by ourselves, and it was so we didn't know what to do. It was crazy.
No, but I mean, you fend. I mean, if you had to be stranded in any place in LA, what I thought it would be the best would be there for you, Malibu Beach. That's where I would want to be stranded. Put it that way.
I remember detoxing off heroin there for the first few days and thinking the sounds of the water was very soothing. Something about it there was nobody in sight. I mean, you could do anything
you want.
Nobody was in sight there.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And if you had all your provisions, you wouldn't need anything. You would have had a great time.
Well, we didn't have food or a working phone or nothing.
Or water,
food,
water.
I would have to run to machine. Yeah.
Well, it was the winter time. Remember, it was winter of 2013.
So tell people whatever you want to tell them. I mean, it's up to you. What's life like now? Ari. Since
so I feel like I'm not accountable to anybody here. And would you say that I need to feel accountable I have to have accountability to get sober or to stop smoking methamphetamine? What would your suggestion be to me? I'm not ready to give up my apartment. I'm not ready to break down and tell my almost dead mother, she's 88, by the way. If you were me, what would you do?
I'm going to tell you this, Rob. I'm going to tell you from my experience. I went to 20 different rehabs. I've been to jails. I've been to prisons. I've done it all. I've died. You've seen it all with me. When I was ready to get sober, and I knew in my heart that I was willing to do whatever it takes, and I was ready to be done for good. Not that one day at a time nonsense, ready to be done for good. I didn't go to rehab. You don't have to give up your place. You don't have to do that. That's not how it works. You have to be willing to put it down. I don't know if you have to go to detox for a few days to clear your head or not. That's up to you. And you have to go through the steps immediately out of the book with somebody who knows what they're doing, who knows the book. And you don't have to leave your place or give your mom a heart attack or do any of that stuff. You have to be willing to do what it takes. And what it takes is to live a life of spirituality and to go through those 12 steps immediately from the book, exactly as they're written, and be ready to be done for good and not look back. And that's what the answer is. If you're ready to be done for good, if you've had enough and you make a decision that this is it for you, myself or I know people who are by the book would take you through the steps and you can get the same result as myself and the people who wrote the book, which is freedom. I haven't had a thought, or believe it or not, since you know me and we haven't really talked much over the years, this might be hard for you to digest. I've had no obsession or craving to drink or get high in almost 11 years. Like it's disappeared. And that's the power.
I believe if you could do it,
12 steps.
Anybody else could, because you were the worst drug addict I ever seen in my whole life. And I mean that because you were very functional. You made a lot of money on drugs. You had a lot of temptation. You made it. I mean, it's difficult. Life is difficult. And it's just so much more difficult when your health starts deteriorating because of drugs. And that's what's happened to me.
What are you dealing with? What are you dealing with specifically?
My sister was a dentist her whole life, and I've had my teeth my whole life. And look what methamphetamine has done. It might be hard to see, but that's me.
Yeah.
If that is fucked up, man, I can't even talk with this shit. But they pull, I mean, and my body's right after that. And it's a serious thing, and it's due to methamphetamine. I'm borderline congestional heart failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I might be calling you more often than you think in the next coming oncoming year, and at the end of the year, or the beginning of next. You know.
I don't know, Rob. There was something, man, that was like telling me like you were kind of rejected doing this video and stuff, and I thought something was telling me to keep trying. You know, and to keep trying to connect with you. And I don't know what it was, you know, but something was like, just keep reaching out, keep trying. And I don't reach out to anybody from my past at all, anybody. So it's kind of weird you're bringing this up, that you're actually thinking about it. And I'm here, man. Like I'm telling you, man, from my experience, and maybe I'm not as deep as you with the health problems, but I was pretty torn up. The body can do some amazing things to repair itself if we allow it to. You know, if we start treating it right and allow our body, you can make some.
And I must admit, part of me was looking at you getting healthy, and I was resenting the fact that you looked good and you looked healthy. You still do. And it's time for me to do it. Yeah, so man, listen, I gotta go right now though. It's I told somebody I'd be there 6:00 my time, but I plan to speak to you more. This doesn't have to end here. Man. You know what I'm saying?
We should do these videos. No. We'll keep tight, man.
Okay.
I'm glad you did this. I think it'll help a lot of people, and I love you, brother.
I love you too, Ari, and it helped me the most. Thank you.
I'll talk to you in a bit.